From its inception in the year 1967, the American car manufacturing company Ford has built one of the most wicked road machines ever, especially from its Shelby division. This, guys, is the new generation Ford Shelby GT500. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how and why this is the craziest thing that has ever come out from a Ford factory. The Shelby GT500 is the top of the line of the Mustang series, and it is the fastest and the most menacing thing to ever emerge from a Ford factory. I mean, take a look at this beauty. So she comes entirely different from the looks of the regular Mustang GT and even the Shelby GT350. I mean, to begin with, so we have the regular Shelby Cobra signage right there in the front. We have massive grills. So we have a way bigger grill than you find in the Shelby GT350. You also get a power dome with a vented hood for all of that air that goes in through the grills to come out and keep the engine as cool as possible. You also do get a very low lip spoiler, and everything else about this car is just, as in, if you have this right beside the Shelby GT350, you won't believe that they are both from the Shelby division of Ford. That is how different this young lady here is. Beginning with the menacing lights, so you get your projector beam headlamps right there with these 3 striped LED lights that are just very beautiful. Then of course you get your 20-inch rims on the side wrapped in Michelin Sport 4S tires, and they are just beautiful. You also get a 16.5-inch brake disc and very massive Brembo calipers right there. On the side you get a wider fender, you have a very aerodynamic design, even more Cobra signage, and as usual you get the small American side mirrors with a side indicator and a blind spot warning or blind spot detection feature. You also get this very beautiful side skirt because you need to retain the downforce on this car. At the rear, of course, we get something way more exciting. First of all, this rear end is beautiful. As in, this defines the word beautiful. So not only does she look very menacing, she looks menacing in a very good kind of way. So from the bottom, we have our quad exhaust tips, which are huge. As in, each tip is massive. Then we get our rear diffuser. We get those sport lights that we get in most race cars because this girl actually goes on track. She has a track mode, but we'll get to that later. Coming up, of course, we get our sequential lights, which you can see LED rear lights or tail lights rather. Then we get this very huge duck lip spoiler, which I think is very amazing. And it's not just huge for anything, right? It does keep this car low to the ground as she moves, which is cool. The cabin of the GT500 is heavenly. To begin with, you have keyless entry, you get a rimless door with those windows that are just beautiful, and coming into the car, you are welcome to an aeroplane cockpit in a race car. So you get Recaro bucket seats in Alcantara, and you get leather side bolsters, and these hug you in place when you take this car out wild. Like, that is really cool. Then when it comes to this entire area, of course, you get your air vents, you get your GT500 badging with the chassis number, just to remind anybody sitting in this seat what they're in. Then you get to this section, and everything here is just so cool. When it comes to this segment of the car, you get a lot. So first of all, before we get to this, Ford gives 2 analog clocks, one for the oil pressure and one for the oil temperature. And then when it comes to this, you get an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which has the Ford Sync 3 interface, and it also is compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto via USB connectivity. Then for this side, you get the audio controls. On this side, you get your dual zone climate controls, and lower, you get the reason I said this car reminds you of being in an airplane cockpit. So you get your mode selector, which allows you to switch through different modes. And so if you just click up, you go from normal to sports, then you go to track, you get to drag strip, you get to slippery, back to normal, and then you get an additional individual, as it's commonly called, but Ford calls it my mode. So that allows you to switch through, like, or to set your preferred mode to enjoy the car in. Anyway, taking it back to normal. Then on this side, you get a lever that allows you to switch through different engine exhaust modes. So you can go from quiet to normal, to sport, to race, to quiet again, back to normal. And on this side, you get your one-way light. You get your engine start stop button right here, and then you get more stuff in this section. In this section, you get storage to keep your phone in. You get one USB port, one 12-volt socket. Then here, you get your gear selector. You get an e-parking brake, two cup holders, and you get a storage compartment which you can open from either side depending on this. So here you get an additional USB port, you get another 12-volt socket, and just about enough space to keep your stuff. For more space, you also do get a glove box compartment right here where you can store other things. In this particular part, you have your full roof line. There's no sunroof or even a panel roof right here. You get your rear view mirror, and then like I said, you get a rear view camera actually, which you can activate when you put the car in reverse, and that gives you a clear view of what's right behind you, because visibility in the rear of this car as well. We'll talk about that later. Then when it comes to this is yet another beautiful part of this car. So you get a fully Alcantara wrapped steering wheel, which is really, really good to the feel. You get massive paddle shifters, and just at the bottom here, you get your D-shaped steering, which has leather at the bottom. So this is really cool. You get your audio controls, you get your navigation controls, you get your voice controls, you get your driver assistant features, and all of that right here in this section. Still on the steering, you get customizable steering settings, which allows you to switch through soft to stiff steering. Same goes for the suspension, subtle to very stiff, so you can feel that road harshness when you drive this car in her glory. So over here, of course, you get a fully digital gauge cluster, as opposed to having these analog clocks that tell you the oil temperature and the oil pressure. And this gives you all of the information else it is that you need to see. And it is huge. I mean, these dials are huge. You get your rev counter, you get your speed clock, and this is amazing. I mean, like, it's hard to miss, actually. So when it comes to other things, the usability of this car, you get 9 speakers in this car, which I think is really cool. You also get the Sirius XM satellite radio in the infotainment system. You get a CD player, and this car is just as practical as any other daily car, and that is really exciting. Ford tried to create a perfect blend of race monster and practicality into this car. So we're just going to try to fit into those rear seats that they left there and find out why exactly the rear seats have been left here. So coming in, sitting right comfortably, pulling this backward. Well, I do have just about enough leg room to sit exactly upright and not be able to rest my back because of the slopy roof line, but I'm going to be half dead if this person decides to take this seat backward because the person lacks knee room or leg room right there in front. And so this out and away, please. So for the power of this car, underneath the hood, we have this very wicked 5.2 liter supercharged V8. And we're not talking just any type of supercharger, rather. We're talking about a 2.65 liter Eaton supercharger. And this gives this car so much power. We're talking about 760 horsepower, 850 Newton meters of torque. All of this power and all of this is mated to a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission and is sent to just the rear wheels of this car. So the 0 to 100 time on this car is about 3.5 seconds. That is insane. Now, anybody who thinks to buy a Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 should just take out fuel economy from their list, because you should even be considering that. But anyway, if you care to know, you get 14 miles per gallon on this car. So please, don't think about it. Just buy the car and enjoy it. In as much as this is a beauty, there are still a few things about this car that I may not particularly like. The first thing, though, is that gear selector I mentioned. So I wish we had the usual gear selector that was more stick related instead of that knob that you find in most luxury cars. But then again, it depends on your preference. I personally don't like it. To you, tell me in the comment section. The second thing, those rear seats, like I said, they need to be out. Then you get a very, very, very good but yet laggy transmission, especially between a certain number of gears. You also do not get a manual transmission on the Shelby GT500 because apparently this is too much power for you to shuttle between changing gears and handling. But you know, we're going to keep that aside. Another thing is, in this car, apart from a rear view camera, you do not get all of that extra driver assistance feature. So if you own this car, you are a real man. So if you have anything to do with this car in the wrong way, you also die like a real man. But anyway, that is cool. So guys, this car is amazing. She's also very expensive and you get so many optional extras to choose from. For example, these dual stripes all across the car from the hood all the way to the trunk is an optional extra that runs into a couple $1,000s. So if you want stuff like that, you can check them out, pick the one that fits you the most. And guys, this is all we have for this car. Shout out to GT500 _Raptor on Instagram. He gave me this car and I am very pleased I was able to get my hands on it. I'm super excited and I can't wait for you to see him on the road if you're within this region. Anyway guys, thank you so much for sticking with us up until this extent. If you haven't yet, please do well to subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and please do well to be following the account GT500 _Raptor. I'll be leaving the link to the account rather in the description. And here's his saying, see you some other time. Bye.
Yeah.